Our top story now, Narendra Giri, the head of a top religious body, Akhil Bharatiya Akhada Parishad, one of the largest religious bodies of saints in the country, was found dead at his home in Prayagraj. The police have said an initial investigation has found a lengthy suicide note whose contents are being studied by the police. It reportedly named one of his disciples, Anand Giri. Anand Giri was then detained from Haridwar in connection with this case. The police have said he will be brought to UP for further questioning. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath condoled the death. The Prime Minister expressed sorrow on his death and hailed him for playing a vital role in uniting saints of different streams while remaining true to spiritual traditions.
मुझे तो विश्वास नहीं हो रहा कि महाराज जी आत्महत्या कर सकते हैं, लेकिन अगर आत्महत्या की है, किसी ने ऐसी परिस्थिति की है, पैदा की है, तो उसको भी बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। कोई जांच की जरूरत पड़ेगी, वो हर जांच की जाएगी। लेकिन अभी तो मैं समाचार से ही बहुत दुखी हूँ। पूरी चीज़ें समझने के लिए मैं प्रयागराज जा रहा हूँ और जाकर के मैं जो भी कदम उठाना होगा सरकार के स्तर से वह भी उठाएंगे।
भारतीय अखाड़ा परिषद के अध्यक्ष महंत नरेंद्र गिरी जी ने आत्महत्या कर ली है। ये सूचना उनके शिष्य के द्वारा दी गई, जिस पे तात्कालिक रूप से आईजी तथा अन्य लोगों ने मौके पे जाके इसका परीक्षण किया। मौके पे से ये बताया गया है कि दरवाज़ा पूर्व में बंद था। अमूमन 3:30 से 4 बजे के बीच महंत जी खुद निकलते थे। जब वो नहीं निकले हैं तो उनके शिष्यों ने दरवाज़ा खटखटाया है और दरवाज़ा खटखटाने के बाद भी जब कोई मूवमेंट नहीं हुआ है तो उन्होंने दरवाज़ा तोड़ा था, जो कि अंदर से बंद था। और उसके उन्होंने देखा कि महंत जी की बॉडी एक नायलॉन के धागे से लटकी हुई है, पंखे से।
Well, let's go across to Alok Pandey now for more. And Alok, this has sent shockwaves really over this death by suicide. And what are the police saying? It was a very lengthy suicide note that was found, and one of the disciples was named in it.
The police have not said anything on record about how many people were named in it, but they have said that some disciples, as you pointed out, were named in that suicide note. The suicide note was at least 6 to 7 pages, according to Mr. K.P. Singh, who is the Inspector General in Prayagraj of Police. And one person at least on record has been detained by the UP Police in collaboration with the police in Uttar and Haridwar. His name is Anand Giri. Now, Anand Giri was effectively Narendra Giri's understudy, so to say. However, he had been facing allegations of fraud and financial mismanagement over the last some time. In May, in fact, he was expelled by the Akhada from many of the administrative positions that he held, and that was seen to be a major falling out with Narendra Giri. Later, however, there was a 1-minute video released from the Akhada where it essentially showed this person, Anand Giri, at the feet of Narendra Giri asking for forgiveness, etc. And it was believed that the two people had patched up. Now, however, it seems that his name figures in that suicide note, although the police have not said this officially, but it does seem that that is why he has been detained right now, and his questioning will happen or has already been happening over the last some time. We have been told that at least 2 other people have been detained by the Uttar Pradesh police. Both of them, again, are part of the residence where Narendra Giri used to live, and they are believed to be aides of Narendra Giri, who are also close to this other person, Anand Giri. So that is as far as the investigation goes. You are right, this has sent shockwaves across India, because Narendra Giri was a very influential figure. Not only was he the head of such a big congregation of saints, the Akhada Parishad, he was also politically very important, because any leader, whether it was from the Congress, the Samajwadi Party, or whether it was the ruling BJP, whenever they visited Prayagraj, they used to go and meet with him. He was seen in the company of some highly influential politicians, people. So in that sense, everyone's condoled his death, but it is very murky how things have gone on like this, and why, if the police claims are correct, has he been driven to death by suicide. So I guess it will take some time for the investigations to take place. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath is expected to travel to Prayagraj at some point today to offer his condolences, and his deputy Keshav Madhya is already in Prayagraj. He's also the MP from the area.
All right, Alok, thanks so much for joining us with those details and waiting for more information to emerge from the police regarding this very shocking death. And as we said, the Prime Minister also tweeted condoling the death and hailed him for playing a vital role in uniting saints of different streams while remaining true to spiritual traditions. Now, the government has said that India will resume the export and donations of surplus COVID vaccines from next month. The announcement by the Union Health Minister comes ahead of Prime Minister Modi's visits to the US, where the issue was likely to be raised by President Joe Biden.
Just days after setting a global record of over 2.5 crore vaccinations in just one day, India has said that it will resume vaccine exports as early as next month. India is known as the vaccine factory of the world and had promised supplies to the WHO program COVAX, which had paid Serum Institute of India $300 million a year ago. But in April, all exports of vaccines were halted because of heavy criticism by states that they were running out of doses. Serum Institute still owes 18 crore doses to the COVAX coalition.
हमारी जरूरियात को पूरी करके अधिक प्रोडक्शन करेंगे। ये प्रोडक्शन के तहत हम वैक्सीन मैत्री को भी आगे बढ़ाएंगे। फोर्थ क्वार्टर में वैक्सीन मैत्री के तहत हम दुनिया को भी मदद करेंगे और कोवैक्स में भी हमारी जिम्मेवारी निभाएंगे।
But can India afford to export yet? The vaccination rate needed to vaccinate 60% of the population with both doses is 1.23 crore doses a day. The projected supply for October is 30 crore. According to which a sustainable pace for the month would be 96.7 lakh doses a day. This is below the needed rate of vaccination and raises the question of whether there is any surplus available for export. India's U-turn comes days ahead of the Prime Minister's visit to the US for the Quad Summit. The US may also be pressuring India to resume exports to COVAX, according to a report by Axios.com, which quoted a US administration official as saying, "We have regularly been communicating with the government of India in bilateral and multilateral channels to discuss vaccine supply and inquire about timeline for exports."
Although it may be too soon to resume vaccine exports, diplomatic pressure and contractual obligations may be driving this massive change in policy. With Sudesh Kumar Ram, Meher Pandey for NDTV.
Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will have bilateral meetings with both the US President Joe Biden on September 24th and Vice President Kamala Harris on September 23rd in the course of a busy three-day trip to the US that will see him addressing the United Nations General Assembly in New York as the first speaker of the day. Ahead of that, External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar met with the foreign ministers. He held these meetings with UK and Norway foreign ministers. And news from Jammu and Kashmir now. The army on Monday said it was engaged in a major operation in Jammu and Kashmir for the second day in a row following what is believed to be the biggest infiltration attempt by terrorists from across the line of control in recent years. Internet services and mobile phones have been suspended in the Uri sector of North Kashmir since this morning. Officials said an infiltration attempt was detected late Saturday evening, coinciding with the 5th anniversary of the Uri attack in which 19 soldiers were killed.
There's been an operation which has been ongoing for last about 24 hours in Uri, in which we felt that there's an infiltration attempt which has been made. We are looking for them. Are they on this side, or they, after having made an attempt, they have gone back? That issue has not yet been clarified or verified on the ground. But however, I can assure you that we are quite alert. Our troops on the ground are totally alert, and we will ensure that minimal infiltration takes place whenever the attempt is made.
News now from Punjab, with Charanjit Channi was sworn in as Punjab's first Chief Minister from the scheduled caste community. In his first press interaction, the new Chief Minister took a dig at the Aam Aadmi Party, saying he is the real Aam Aadmi. The crisis in the state Congress, though, seems far from over.
In the presence of Rahul Gandhi, the first Chief Minister of Punjab from the scheduled caste community, Charanjit Singh Channi sworn in. In an apparent dig at Aam Aadmi Party, the new Chief Minister claimed to be the actual Aam Aadmi recounting his humble origins.
ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਫਿਰਦੇ ਨਾ ਆਮ ਆਦਮੀ ਆ ਬੈਠਾ ਆਮ ਆਦਮੀ
ਅੱਜ ਇੰਨਾ ਚੰਗਾ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਇੱਕ ਚੀਫ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਨੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਆਸ ਪੂਰੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਕਿ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਰੇਗਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਦੇ-ਕਦੇ ਬਰਸਾਤ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਸੌਂਦੀ ਖੁਸ਼ਬੂ ਉੱਠਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਇਹ ਬੜੇ ਅਰਸੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਇੱਕ ਸੌਂਦੀ ਖੁਸ਼ਬੂ ਉੱਠੀ ਹੈ
ਮੈਂ ਸੁਖਜਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਰੰਧਾਵਾ
The Chief Minister's two deputies have also been chosen keeping social equations in mind. Deputy Chief Minister S.S. Randhawa is from the prominent Jat Sikh community. The second Deputy Chief Minister, O.P. Soni, is considered the Hindu face of the party. But hours before the oath ceremony, the internal bickering which has thrown the Congress in Punjab into turmoil resurfaced. Senior party leader Sunil Jakhar raised an objection to Congress's Punjab in charge Harish Rawat, saying that the upcoming assembly elections will be fought under Navjot Singh Sidhu.
It was just to avoid any infighting in the party that I raised my concern, and I stand vindicated today when immediately after my tweet Rahulji has taken note of it, or the High Command has taken note of it, and AICC has just held a press conference saying that no, it is not Mr. Sidhu alone, but both of them, Mr. Chanji Singh Channi as well as Navjot Singh Sidhu ji.
The BJP was quick to seize on this, calling it an insult to the Chief Minister from the scheduled caste community. The new Chief Minister though claimed that he wants to get down to business, addressing hot button issues which it was believed were neglected by his predecessor Captain Amrinder Singh. For instance, cracking down on illegal sand mining.
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਉਹੀ ਬੰਦੇ ਮਿਲਣ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰੇਤੇ ਦਾ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਮੈਂ ਹੱਥ ਜੋੜਦਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਮਿਲਣ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੋਈ ਮਾਫੀਆ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਮਿਲਣ ਆ ਕੇ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਨੁਮਾਇੰਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹਾਂ
Day 1 is officially over for the new Chief Minister Charanjit Singh Channi. He has got a tenure of over 4 months before the Model Code of Conduct kicks in Punjab. Now the bigger question is that will he be able to deliver the 18-point agenda which saw the replacement of Captain Amrinder Singh, and also will he prove to be a masterstroke for the party ahead of 2022? With camera person Pawan Kumar in Chandigarh, Mohammad Ghazali for NDTV.
Actor Sonu Sood spoke to NDTV about the tax rate that he'd been subjected to. He seemed undeterred by the scrutiny and allegations that he's been evading taxes. Instead, he shared that two political parties had approached him, offering him a Rajya Sabha seat, which he declined. He also clarified he's not interested or ready to take the plunge into politics, at least not yet.
When somebody like yourself, a film star, enters this public arena, is doing charitable work, gets huge amount of traction and sympathy and goodwill, many see that as a possible springboard to getting into a political space.
I've been offered positions from past 10 years. In post-COVID, I've rejected, I won't say rejected, I would say declined twice Rajya Sabha seats. So a lot of people say, this is great, yeah? Why do you have to say no? At that time, I was not ready.
Broadly, do you deny these charges of tax evasion? That you're...
Of course, I'm a law-abiding citizen. Yeah, I'm a law-abiding citizen of this country, and I've always been. It's not that, I came to Mumbai yesterday. It's been 22 years, and we have always respected whatever they asked. It happened in 2012 also, and we have answered whatever they wanted to know. And this time also, yes, whatever the questions they had asked, we have provided them with all the documents.
Okay.
And we will keep on doing that, and yes, that's my duty. We have always maintained that, everything that we do has to be right and in the parameters of the law of our country.
News now from West Bengal. In 2 days after BJP MP Babul Supriyo joined the Trinamool, the boss of BJP's Bengal unit, Dilip Ghosh, known for his frequent controversial comments, has been replaced. The 57-year-old has instead been made a national vice president of the party in a wider reorganization of its leadership. BJP's MP from Balurghat in North Bengal, 41-year-old Sukanta Majumdar, has been asked to take over as the Bengal unit chief. The reshuffle in Bengal BJP comes 2 days after the party's MP from Asansol, Babul Supriyo, switched sides. Welcome back. Actor Kangana Ranaut appeared in court finally after repeated absence in the defamation case filed by poet and lyricist Javed Akhtar against her. In the earlier hearing, the actress's lawyers had said that she had symptoms of COVID and was tired because of travelling. The court said that failing to appear this time, a warrant would be issued against the actor. Here are the details.
Actor Kangana Ranaut came face-to-face with Javed Akhtar, star scriptwriter and lyricist, in a Mumbai court over a defamation case he filed against her. After Kangana Ranaut allegedly dragged his name during an interview while referring to a coterie in the backdrop of Sushant Singh Rajput's death by suicide last year. Ranaut was forced to turn up or else face an arrest warrant, as she had not followed the court summons several times earlier. In her defense, Kangana Ranaut says the offence alleged against her is non-cognizable, compoundable and bailable, but the court has been indirectly issuing threats. The actor moved 2 petitions, the first one before the Chief Metropolitan Magistrate to transfer the case out of this court as they had lost faith in the court, and the second, a complaint of alleged extortion and invasion of privacy against Javed Akhtar. Her plea to transfer the case from this court will be heard on the 1st of October.
कंगना और रंगोली को बुलाया गया था जावेद अख्तर साहब के घर पे, और जावेद अख्तर साहब का कोई लेना देना नहीं था उनके मैटर में, फिर भी उन्होंने बुलाया, घर में बुला के उनको धमकाया, ये कहना है कंगना का। और ये बात खाली कहना आज नहीं है, ये पिछले 3-4 साल से मीडिया में भी कंगना ने कई दफ़ा बोला है कि उनको धमकाया था और वो काफ़ी घबरा गई थी और उनकी मोडेस्टी को भी एक हिसाब से आउटरीच किया गया था।
Javed Akhtar's lawyers did not speak on camera, but they have rubbished her complaint. The actor had to attend court or else face an arrest warrant, and the next hearing will be after 2 months. She faces 2 years in prison if convicted, as this is a criminal defamation complaint. Kangana Ranaut's request to cancel the defamation case was earlier rejected by the Bombay High Court. In Mumbai with Sohit Mishra, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Welcome back. News from Madhya Pradesh. In Rewa, a 28-year-old man was beaten up for allegedly harassing a girl. A video of the assault going viral on social media. Now, in the video, one of the accused is holding a belt tied around the neck of the victim while another person is hitting him with a stick. Later, the man holding the belt also beats up the victim. Additional SP Shiv Kumar Verma said the person who was beaten is Baldev Jadhav, who had recently been released from jail in an extortion case, and he allegedly harassed a girl and was beaten up by the kin of the girl. All 3 people have been booked.
घटना में जिसके साथ मारपीट की जा रही है, इसका नाम बलदेव यादव है और ये क्या है, जिला बदर का आरोपी रहा है। अभी 2 दिन पहले घटना के 2 दिन पहले ही जेल से छूट के आया था। एक 386 327 के केस में जेल गए होते 3 लोग। छूटने के आने के बाद इसका किसी लड़की के साथ में कुछ अश्लीलता करने की शिकायत आई थी, जिसके कारण से परिजनों ने इसके साथ मारपीट की है। उसी घटना दिनांक को ही थाने में ये बात पहुंच गई। थाना प्रभारी के द्वारा इसमें प्रकरण पंजीबद्ध कर लिया गया है 327 का। आरोपियों की तलाश जारी है, विवेचना की जा रही है।
In 2019, 3 people died while cleaning the sewers in a case of manual scavenging in Mumbai. Following their death, their families faced many difficulties. The COVID-induced lockdown and unemployment added to their problems. Now the Bombay High Court has announced a compensation of 10 lakh to them, but to get to this point has been a massive challenge for these families.
ऐसा एक दिन नहीं होता कि मैं इंतजार नहीं करती हूँ वो आएंगे। जब भी कहीं जाती हूँ सोचती हूँ वो आएंगे, लेकिन वो नहीं आएंगे, ये भी पता है मुझे। और वो सोसाइटी वालों को कभी हमारे ऊपर कोई दया नहीं आई, कभी तरस नहीं। हम जाके उनके सामने रोए भी। मैं गई थी तो मुझे बहुत रोना आया, क्योंकि मैं उस जगह पे खड़ी नहीं हो पा रही थी कि उस जगह पे मेरे पति की जान गई है, 3 लोगों की जान गई है, और हम तीनों का क्या हालत होता है, हम तीनों कैसे सह रहे हैं, हमको पता है।
Wimla cannot control her grief as soon as her husband's name comes up. She lives with her 3 children and her mother-in-law in a small house in the Kurla area of Mumbai. 3 people, including her husband, Govind Chirotia, died of inhaling poisonous gas in December 2019 when they went down a manhole to clean sewers of a housing society. Govind was the breadwinner for his family. Neeta's husband, Santosh Kalsekar, was among the 3 people who died of breathing poisonous gas in that same accident. She says there were times when she had to sleep hungry during the lockdown. The children had to be left with a relative.
हमारा घर चलाना मुश्किल हुआ था, 2 बच्चों को लेके। अभी किसी के पास मांगने जाएगा तो कोई ऐसा लॉकडाउन में देगा भी नहीं। काम पे नहीं जा सकती तो मेरे को कर्ज भी लेना पड़ा और भूखे भी सोना पड़ा। वो अभी भी बोलता है मैं इधर उधर जाएगा तो मेरे को मेरा पापा मिल जाएगा, लेकिन उसका पापा थोड़ा उसको मिलने वाला है।
Delivering its verdict on Friday, the Bombay High Court said the case was an eye-opener. Within a month, all three families will receive compensation of rupees 10 lakh each. Isha Singh appeared on behalf of the victims pro bono. She says those who need justice often aren't able to reach here.
तो आपको बहुत भारी कोर्ट फीस देनी पड़ती है जो बहुत लोग नहीं दे पाते हैं। पर दुख की बात ये है, जिन लोगों को ये सबसे ज़्यादा ऐसी पेटिशंस की ज़रूरत होती है, सबसे ज़्यादा टाइम रजिस्ट्री में इन्हीं पेटिशंस पे लगता है, ऑब्जेक्शंस पे ऑब्जेक्शंस। और जो गरीब लोग होते हैं वो हमेशा अपना काम छोड़ के हाई कोर्ट में नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि हर दिन की सैलरी उनको मिलती है, तो एक दिन की सैलरी उनकी रोज़ कटती है। तो ये मुझे लगता है कि हमारे जस्टिस सिस्टम्स में कुछ रिफॉर्म ज़रूर आने चाहिए।
These photographs from Ratlam in Madhya Pradesh this month show how much we care about the safety of manual scavengers or cleaners. No lessons after multiple deaths. Sanjay Sajan and Bharat Kailash went down in a 7 feet deep pit to clear the sewer line without any safety equipment. Luckily there was no accident.
सफाई कर्मचारी जो संजय सजन कुछ नाम है, वो उसको उतारा गया था और सुरक्षा उपकरण उसको प्रदान नहीं किए गए थे, जबकि नगर निगम रतलाम में जो सफाई सुरक्षा उपकरण पूरी तरह से उपलब्ध हैं। तो ऐसी स्थिति में उस वार्ड के दरोगा नयल सिद्धे को पद से हटा दिया गया।
Manual scavenging, a shameful practice that still exists despite efforts from all quarters to end it. As manual scavengers die, their families lose everything. But for the government, they turn up to be just a mere statistic. With Anurag Dhwari in Bhopal and camera person Rajendra Dayalkar and Praveen Jirohit in Mumbai, Sohit Mishra for NDTV.
Now, heavy rain through Sunday night, and Kolkata, in fact, all of southern Bengal literally sank, the result of a monsoon trough and a cyclonic circulation from the Bay of Bengal passing over the state at the same time. The Met Department, though, did say that Tuesday should be better, but you can see these scenes of a waterlogged street still in Kolkata.
Trinamool MP Shougata Roy making quite a splash, wading out of his home at South Kolkata's upmarket Lake Gardens area to ask neighbours if they needed help in the heavy rains and waterlogging. Usually seen in starched white dhoti kurta, Roy was dressed for the occasion in a lungi. He felt the pain of a city that sank after 142 millimeters of rain in 24 hours and a continuous drizzle through the day.
সকাল থেকে বৃষ্টি, আমি উঠে দেখলাম আমার বাড়ির সামনে হাঁটু জল। যেরকম বৃষ্টি হয়েছে তাতে জল তো হলোই, কি করে কমবে বুঝতে পারছি না।
A high tide in the Hooghly River meant there was nowhere for the water to go, and Salt Lake, Howrah, Behala, Shonarpur areas around the city were also badly hit. Even the airport. Attendance in offices was thin, so was public transport, and commuters were in distress.
We have experienced a catastrophe. The biggest trouble is buses were less available. Taxis, they demanded exorbitant prices, and the app cabs absurdly surged their prices.
সাউথে আসছি, সাউথে তো সাংঘাতিক, কিছু কিছু জায়গায় কোমর অবধি জল দাঁড়িয়ে গেছে দেখছি। তো যা মনে হচ্ছে ওয়েদার দেখে এখনো 2-3 দিন হয়তো বৃষ্টি আরো হলেও হতে পারে, কারণ আকাশে মেঘটা এখনো সরেনি। তো মনে হয় কালকে অবধি তো মনে হয় বৃষ্টি হবেই হবে, যা মনে হচ্ছে ওয়েদার দেখে।
The Met Department says the situation will improve by Tuesday, but till the rains actually stop, people in Kolkata are not convinced. Not after surviving the third rainiest September day to hit Kolkata this century after 2006 and 7. With G.D. Shankar, Monideepa Banerjee, NDTV.
Well, to talk more about all these developments on the vaccine front, the fact that we're going to restart exports, also the travel restrictions on vaccinated Indians in the UK and the opening up of the US in November, we're now joined by Dr. Sarman Singh, Director AIMS in Bhopal. Also, Dr. Ishita Dwivedi, Assistant Professor of Medicine at Lenox Hill Hospital, joins us from the US. Dr. Sarman Singh, first I want to talk to you about this UK rule about Indians having to be quarantined even though they'll be fully vaccinated. Now, India is taking this up. The foreign minister has said that he's taken it up with the UK foreign minister. What do you think the reasoning is behind this?
I think it is a very pertinent question you are asking. I think WHO should take a call because every country is having their own system and the quarantine policies. So I think many of the vaccines they are not recognizing. Some are having 7 days quarantine, some are having 14 days quarantine, some are recognizing Covishield, some are not recognizing. So I think a common agency like WHO should take a call and they should frame policies that what should be done and what should not be done.
Right, Doctor, speaking of WHO, we do know that in August, WHO did call out that there were some counterfeit Covishield vaccines found in Africa and in Asia and in India. Do you think this is something to do with this decision, or do you think it's, hopefully India will be able to sort it out with the UK?
Very pertinent, but it is a fact. It is true. It is true. And
in fact, the centre even sent out a letter to all the states. The centre had sent out a letter to all the states to how to recognize, the correct vaccines and some parameters to recognize the vaccines by.
Yeah, so manufacturing has been doubted, which is unfortunately not good for India. So both the vaccines, they have been Covishield and Covaxin, they have been the quality checks and other things, they have been questioned. So it is not a good taste for India, but definitely we should overcome all these issues.
Right, Dr. Ishita Dwivedi, welcome news for Indians that that the US will be opening up travel in November, and this will, lots of families have been separated for so long, so big relief for the Indian community.
Yes, definitely. I think it comes as a very welcome news to everybody on both the sides in the US as well as in India. I think now they're allowing vaccinated travelers from all the EU countries as well as, India and Brazil, which were in the earlier part of the year hit pretty badly with COVID. So I think this comes as a very welcome news, and not only is it going to help families and relatives, but I think even economically for both the sides, it's going to have a great benefit. So we're all looking forward to it. The date actually remains to be seen. They're saying that it's going to open in early November. But I think it remains to be seen what date exactly, and if we still need to show a proof of a negative COVID test before taking off or after landing.
And what is the situation currently in the US? Cases have been fairly high, but mainly in the southern states?
Yes, I think at this point, it's really the pandemic of the unvaccinated, unfortunately. So it's highly preventable. Most of the cases, and especially the deaths and the severe hospitalizations that we're seeing, are unfortunately in the unvaccinated, easily preventable again. And also we're actually seeing a higher number of cases within children. So even though they're not very sick, most of the cases that are getting hospitalized are in the elderly and people with comorbidities, the cases amongst children have gone up, especially since schools have opened now recently in September. But this comes at a pertinent time as well, where Pfizer has actually shown efficacy in children between the age of 5 and 11. So we're hoping that as it hopefully in the future gets approved, that we can also decrease the rates of infection within children as well.
All right, we're waiting, for children to start getting vaccinated here in India. We're also joined by Dr. Rajesh Parekh. Dr. Sarman Singh, the other issue I want to discuss with you is that India is to resume exports of vaccines. Now, we do know that, India stopping the exports did affect other countries where, Indian vaccines were meant to go. Covishield was meant to be supplied to many of the poorer countries that still have not got enough access to vaccines. However, this has raised questions in the sense that we still have not vaccinated a majority of our own population. So are we in a position to export vaccines? Do we have excess vaccines?
That's what yesterday we all heard, and we were having the BC also with the Honorable Minister. So that's what the data says, that we have stock more than enough for the vaccinating Indian population, and therefore government has decided that we can export simultaneously. Yeah.
Right. Dr. Parekh, your view on this?
Yes, Gargi, as you're aware, I have always been a firm supporter of exporting vaccines outside of the country. Of course, with the caveat that we do need to vaccinate people within the country as well. I think if there's one thing that the pandemic has taught us, is that as long as one of us is unsafe, all of us are unsafe. So therefore, it is in our enlightened self-interest to export vaccines outside, particularly around the countries that are there. As to the timing of that export, I'm sure that the powers that be have factored in various things. I certainly hope that they have factored in the fact that very soon we're going to need to vaccinate our young population, the population below 18, which in our demographic constitutes a substantial chunk of the overall population. And also the fact that considering vaccination began sometime around March or April, in the not too distant future, we're going to have to look at the booster doses, initially, of course, for the adults, and then, of course, the doses for the children as well. So I am hopeful that these factors have been computed into the calculation regarding the timing of the export. But overall, I think it's our duty.
Right. One of the reasons is also said to be the Prime Minister's traveling to the US, and this issue of India not exporting vaccines. It was thought that the President Biden may raise it with India, and now this announcement coming. But having said that, this issue of the vaccine inequity is something that the WHO has been going on about. And Dr. Ishita Dwivedi, there has been, WHO has also called that to not encourage the third dose or the booster dose of the vaccine. Still more people across the world can get vaccinated, and the US has also come into a certain amount of criticism over this.
Yeah, I think at this point they are strictly limiting it to people who either are immunocompromised, or I think they're also going to recommend it later in the year for people above 65, but they're definitely not recommending it for the general population. And I think part of the reason is because they want to provide vaccine equity and use the doses that are available judiciously in the people where it's most likely needed.
All right. Dr. Parekh, earlier we were discussing with Dr. Singh about also this issue in the UK of Indian vaccines not in a sense being recognized, and double-dosed Indians having to still quarantine in the UK, where we've been put in that category of various countries whose vaccines are not being recognized. Your views on this, though it is being taken up at the highest level, and the foreign minister has said he's taken it up with his UK counterpart.
Gargi, I'm not too familiar with the nuances of Orwellian doublespeak, but on the one hand, the UK government at least claims that they're working very hard to ensure that this disparity is removed. On the other hand, the 10-day quarantine period continues. Yet again, there is considerable pressure on India to export vaccines around the world. So, somewhere we need to make sense out of all of this. And particularly in the United Kingdom, it is ironic because, the vaccine is to a large and substantial extent a UK vaccine. It's the Oxford vaccine being marketed by AstraZeneca and being manufactured in India. I can think of few other vaccines which are that global, that international. So there seems to be something supremely ironic in this 10-day quarantine period. But then on the other hand, the other hand of the United Kingdom government says that this is not right and we are working towards it. So I think it's an internal dialogue between various arms of the United Kingdom, and I believe it is as much in their interest as it is in ours and that of the rest of the world that this absurd disparity between the vaccine manufactured in India and that manufactured in the United Kingdom, the same vaccine, mind you, be removed as quickly as possible.
No, absolutely. On one hand, we're going to export this vaccine and send it to other countries, and on the other hand, it's not being recognized in the UK. An absolutely important point being made there. I'm out of time. Thank you so much all for joining us on the program this morning.
Yeah.
2 days after BJP MP Babul Supriyo joined the Trinamool, the boss of BJP's Bengal unit, Dilip Ghosh, known for his frequent controversial comments, has been replaced. The 57-year-old has been made national vice president of the party in a wider reorganization of its leadership. BJP's MP from Balurghat in North Bengal, 41-year-old Sukanta Majumdar, has been asked to take over as the Bengal unit chief. Now, the reshuffle in Bengal, BJP comes 2 days after the party's MP from Asansol, Babul Supriyo, switched sides.
सारे जो हमारे लीडरशिप है सब एक साथ मिलकर डिसीजन लेंगे और आगे भारतीय जनता पार्टी को स्ट्रेंथन करेंगे। और मैं आपको अभी बोलता हूं, आने वाले चुनाव जो होंगे वो आप म्युनिसिपैलिटी पकड़ लीजिए या जो पंचायत के चुनाव है, उसके बाद हमारे लोकसभा आने वाले हैं। इसमें हम आश्वस्त करते हैं आपको भारतीय जनता पार्टी पिछले बार जो प्रदर्शन की थी उससे ज्यादा अच्छा प्रदर्शन।
Well, let's go across to Monideepa now for more. And Moni, the new BJP Bengal chief, has his task cut out for him. Give us more details.
That's right, Professor Shukanto Majumdar landing in Kolkata today from up country Balurghat. He will be doing a formal kind of takeover at 11 o'clock at the BJP office on Central Avenue, where they will raise, flags and garland the statue of Shama Prasad Mukherjee. And not just Professor Majumdar, but even Dilip Ghosh will be there for the handover, as it were, passing of the baton. And then at 12:30 we are expecting a press conference. Now the BJP is trying to pass off the change of guard at the top as a routine matter, something that takes place in many parties after a big election. But no one, and certainly not the Trinamool Congress, is taking that at face value. Most analysts say that Dilip Ghosh's removal clearly has to do with the exit of Babul Supriyo, the BJP MP who joined the Trinamool Congress on Saturday. And one thing that Babul Supriyo repeatedly said in his post-joining interviews is that if there was one person who was responsible for the debacle of the BJP in the 2021 elections in the state, it was Dilip Ghosh with his controversial statements, whether it's about gold in the milk of cows or about Mamata Banerjee on a wheelchair. Those comments have not gone down well with the culture of Bengal, is what Mr. Babul Supriyo was suggesting. But, this whole situation also opens up a whole series of questions. Is the BJP in Bengal going to bleed even more? Who will join next from the BJP to the Trinamool Congress? Abhishek Banerjee, the National General Secretary, has famously said on Saturday that that is Babul Supriyo, is only the beginning. So there are, apprehensions within the BJP that a steady stream might still flow towards the Trinamool Congress. Already 4 MLAs have quit since the elections. More are expected. The Trinamool's expectations are some 25 MLAs more may join the BJP, may join the Trinamool Congress from the BJP. So given the scenario, certainly Professor Majumdar has his work cut out. One is to, of course, stem the factionalism that is existence in the BJP, and then, of course, to ensure the outflow is somehow or the other plugged. It may be that former Trinamool people are returning to the Trinamool once again, but this constant bleed that the BJP has been seeing since the elections is certainly a huge embarrassment for the party. Back to you. All
right, Moni, thanks so much for joining us with those details. News now from Madhya Pradesh, and in Rewa, a 28-year-old man was beaten up allegedly for harassing a girl. A video of that assault, brutal assault, has gone viral on social media. One of the accused is holding a belt tied around the neck of the victim, while the other person is hitting him with a stick. As you can see there, later the man holding the belt also beats up the victim. Additional SP Shiv Kumar Verma said all three have been booked and there are attempts to arrest them now.
घटना में जिसके साथ मारपीट की जा रही है, इसका नाम बलदाव यादव है और ये क्या है, जिला बदर का आरोपी रहा है। अभी 2 दिन पहले घटना के 2 दिन पहले ही जेल से छूट के आया था। एक 386 327 के केस में जेल गए होते 3 लोग। छूटने के आने के बाद इसका किसी लड़की के साथ में कुछ अश्लीलता करने की शिकायत आई थी, जिसके कारण से परिजनों ने इसके साथ मारपीट की है। उसी घटना दिनांक को ही थाने में बात पहुंच गई। थाना प्रभारी के द्वारा इसमें प्रकरण पंजीबद्ध कर लिया गया है 327 का। आरोपियों की तलाश जारी है, विवेचना की जा रही है।
All right, time now for a special business segment on startups with Sakshi.
That's right, Gargi. 2021 has really been the year of unicorns at a time when India's unemployment rate is at least 7.5%. As per the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, we speak to a startup focusing on creating jobs for the emerging working class in the country. This is also one of the fastest startups to join India's unicorn club, Apna.co. Nirmit Parekh, the founder and CEO, joins us for an interaction. Nirmit, thank you for joining us. Could you please begin by taking us through the journey of Apna.co and the goals you have in mind for job creation?
The goal of Apna is to help people connect to opportunities. And we do this by doing 4 things. Help people build digital professional identities. Think of this as your visiting card or digital visiting card or digital websites for people. The second is we help people find the best hyper-local jobs, formalized and non-formalized both. And thirdly, we also help people connect and network with the peers. So if I'm a carpenter, I will get connected to more carpenters together. And fourth, what we do is we help people solve the skill gap. A lot of times what you realize when people apply to jobs, they fail the job interviews because they have few key skills missing. And we try to solve this by upskilling people. And so those are the 4 goals of Apna. And that's how we help people to connect to opportunities. It has been an incredible journey so far, right? It started out with just solving this problem of hiring. I ended up going undercover. I've been a shop floor guy. I've been a foreman. I've been an electrician. I've done a bunch of gigs here and there just to try and understand how the problem is, because a company like Apna, you cannot build a company like Apna, sitting out in a glass office or an ivory tower.
That's right. I believe the name of the startup Apna.co is inspired from a Hindi movie song.
Yes. So Apna is inspired by the Bollywood anthem Apna Time Aayega. And again, I was watching Gully Boy, and it's a very interesting story, right? You have this protagonist Murad, who is a aspiring hip hop artist, comes from probably lower middle class family, has his big dreams, and every single moment the world, makes him realize that there is this glass ceiling on top of you, which you cannot break. But this person, against all odds, against all elitism, breaks this glass ceiling and becomes this, music sensation. And he does this by doing a couple of things, right? He gets connected to MC Seer and Sky, who are like the network. And then he gets a platform to go and showcase his skills. That's an Apna's feed. So as I was thinking about the product, right, this movie kind of just came to my mind. And there's this one beautiful dialogue in this movie. It's a conversation between Murad's dad and Murad. And the conversation says his dad says that, okay, we are middle class people. We don't have right to dream. And this guy says, मैं अपना सपना नहीं बदलेगा जो मेरा सच्चाई से मेल खाए, मैं अपनी सच्चाई बदलूंगा जो मेरे सपनों से मेल खाए. I'm not going to crucify my dream for my reality. I would rather build a reality that supports my dream. And when I heard this dialogue, right, I just felt good about it, right? I said, this is interesting. There is this champion sitting on every single emerging working class person. And can we create the right arsenal so people can, break apart this glass ceiling with this world and system has created around them? And that's where the Apna name came, and everything just, you know, kind of came together. Yeah.
How wonderful. But, you know, given the rate of unemployment and the lack of awareness, of course, minimal or no understanding of processes and digitization, do you think Apna.co is up for a challenging task?
Right. No, definitely this is a Herculean task, but like couple of things that have kind of gone interesting from a macro standpoint, right? With the rise of 4G and smartphones and internet penetration all across India, that has kind of given everyone smartphones, so people are getting more digitally active. And because of this digital activity increasing, people are getting more conversant by using a bunch of apps. And what we have done on Apna app, we have created languages which allow and create understandability, but as well as aspiration. So if you open Apna app in, say, Delhi, you will see Thoda English. If you open Apna app in basically in Bengal and Kolkata, you will see Ek to English. If you open Apna app in Bangalore, you will see Swalpa English. So what we have done, we are now kind of connecting regional languages and combining with English. So because people are very aspirational about English, so people can do English, but they can also understand the app in a much better way. So we have kind of built a bunch of product features. We also have a feature called Apna Guide. When people get stuck in this process, as you said, with this digitization and all going on, they get stuck into this process. This guide stays along with the user and will help the user navigate this process. If required, that is a point of time where guide is going to help user upskill by showing them the right content, by helping them with the right courses.
All right, Nirmit. So what I understand, people may be able to adapt to digitization, but many still do not even know how to make a resume or upload it. So how do you plan to battle this?
I think so, Sakshi, this is a brilliant question. And that is one of the thesis, right? If you see, we have built Apna with two strong focuses, right? Insane customer obsession. Along with that, we basically do a lot of deep strategy and mathematical network effects. So those are the two key pillars of Apna. So let me talk about customer obsession. So when I went undercover, you know, a couple of things which I realized that majority of the people in this emerging working class, they have skills, but they don't have resume. And most of the players or incumbents inside the market try to kind of force fit them into a white collar way that, you know, go and build a resume. On Apna app, there is no resume. We start by building a quick visiting card. It takes less than 2 minutes, where user is asked to just fill the name and user has to fill the skills. Based on the skills which user has filled, we allow the user to find the best local job. Say, for example, I know how to drive and I know warehousing as skills. Then we can facilitate user with driving jobs, delivery jobs, jobs for being a loader packer, merchandising jobs. This person can also be an office boy. So based on the skills, we basically try to find out the best jobs which are going to work for the user, and that is where we do the matching.
All right, I'm sure that is a ray of hope for the emerging working class, as you said. But lastly, how can we quantify the number of interviews via Apna.co?
I think so. Last August, we were doing around 2 lakh interviews per month. Today we are doing that is 200,000 interviews per month. Today we are doing 18 million interviews per month.
All right. Thank you so much for giving us a sense of, you know, what job creation is like at the moment for Apna.co, and of course, a hope that this is a ray of hope. Thank you. And this is it with business news. Back to general news now.
Thanks so much for that, Sakshi. The Tamil Nadu government has released the retired Justice A.K. Rajan committee report on the impact of NEET, the mandatory entrance test for medical admission. Now, the report says that NEET favors affluent students, denies opportunity for the poor, rural and vernacular medium students on several counts. It replaces learning with coaching and even paves the way for poorly skilled candidates with low scores joining private medical colleges. The Tamil Nadu government had recently passed a bill exempting the state from NEET and to make medical admissions on the basis of class 12 marks. NDTV Sam Daniel spoke to retired Justice A.K. Rajan.
In your recommendations, you have said that the system of NEET favors the elite students and it's against students studying in Tamil medium schools and also from rural areas.
It is anti-poor, anti-rural people. It only helps affluent and those who can afford to sacrifice 2 years study, sacrifice money for 2 years, like that. It only helps affluence.
Means who can afford coaching centers?
Waste 2 years of study. We can repeatedly write this exam. There is no limit for number of attempts you can appear, and there is no age limit also. Any number of age you can appear.
Someone is unable to crack NEET. Doesn't it reflect lack of knowledge, lack of standards on the side of those students?
No, the question does not arise at all. Why should there be a second one? See, when the first, when one test is sufficient, why do you want another test and say there is a lack of knowledge, lack of this thing? It is not necessary. Second test.
My question of lack of knowledge
does not arise. Doesn't arise because if they do not have the knowledge, sufficient, adequate knowledge, they cannot pass plus 2 also. In the plus 2, it is not as if a person who getting 40% go into the medical college. Only person who get 99.8%, 98, 97, or depending upon the OC, BC and SC, everything is above 98, not below.
Help us understand, Justice. In your study, what have you found out? People scoring very high marks in plus 2 don't crack NEET, is it?
That is what Anita's case. Anita is she got 200 out of 200, 199 point something like that she got, but still she could not crack NEET because there is a negative marks also there. If you score 50 marks and you give wrong answer, marks are reduced. There also get reduced marks.
In that case, shouldn't we prepare them better than scrapping NEET?
See, question of preparing itself is unnecessary. Why should there be another test at all? That is, we are standing on the basic question. Why should there be another test?
In Chennai with Suresh, Sam Daniel, for NDTV.